Hello, it's me, Jeanette. How are you? Hope you've been well. Hope you are amazing. This video is going to be a Christmas stamping and coloring video. And it kind of starts off in the middle because I was just building my stash, minding my own business. And then I thought, wait a second, I should probably just film this, just set up the camera real quick so that I can show my friends what I'm doing and also hopefully inspire them, give them ideas. Now, I say this take this with a grain of salt because I am not by any means a colorist. I wouldn't say I'm very good at stamping and coloring. I think I'm pretty good at stamping because, that's easy, just stamping. But when it comes to coloring, yeah, it's a little bit more of a challenge. So I was going to share what I do and hopefully that inspires somebody who's maybe a beginner to give it a try because it can be intimidating. Now, this is a quick way to ensure that you don't do any coloring whatsoever. So just stamping on pattern paper is the easiest thing you can possibly do. So I'm taking this Christmas sweater stamp set. This is from Simply Made Crafts by Helen Griffin. This stamp set is about 2 years old, so I highly doubt that they have this in stock anymore, but I will try to find something updated because I'm sure Helen Griffin has some beautiful new Christmas stamps out for this year. But I love this little Christmas sweater stamp, and I'm just stamping it on this, I just love this little green pattern paper. It's perfect for this kind of stamping. And so besides the little sweater that I'm going to be doing, the little Christmas sweater, I'm also stamping some sentiments, and I'm using the edge of the paper to just make sure that these are all straight so that when I cut them out, probably for the sentiments, I'm going to be using a paper trimmer. But for, the Christmas sweater, I'm going to do some fussy cutting. But I use the edge of the paper as a guide so that these aren't all wonky and crooked. I'm also alternating the colors of what I'm stamping on, but also the ink that I use. So this is an umbrella ink. It's a pigment ink in white. Unfortunately, it's been discontinued, and that is a shame because it is the most magical ink pad of all time. It's so juicy. It's just perfect. And I don't know if the company went out of business or they sold it, but this magic stamp formula is probably gone forever. But I do believe Ranger has a white ink stamp pad that works pretty well from what I've heard. So I will have that linked for you below. White ink makes such a difference when you are stamping on dark colors. It's a lot quicker than doing heat embossing. I also don't have a heat tool anymore. I really need to go on a big shopping spree for some craft tools. Yeah. Anyway, that is definitely a different video for a different day. But continuing with stamping, I am stamping these cute little penguins and these little gnomes that I found in my stash. Just doing a little row of penguins I thought would be so cute. I'm just going to cut those out into little strips. But yeah, I'm just showing you some plain stamping on white, on colored paper, on patterned paper, so you can see just the different effects that alone can do for your stamps, for your stamping. Now I'm going to get to coloring, and I'm going to use these awesome, I think that's, what is it called? Windsor? No, I don't know what they're called. These are watercolored pencils. That's for sure. That much I know, guys. And I'm going to start coloring with these. So they look very much like colored pencils, but they are water soluble. So after I'm done coloring, just like a little shading here and there, I'm going to take my water brush and kind of blend that color in. Just blend it. You'll see what I mean in just a bit. I'm going to zoom in even more, and I do apologize for the blurriness. I film my videos from my phone, and so it's not the best quality, but you'll get the idea. So I'm coloring the face with two colors, so like a beigeish and an orange. And if you just leave it like this without adding the watercoloring, like the water aspect of it, so the water brush, it would be fine. I think it looks swell. So yeah, you can leave it as is, or you can add the water brush, as you'll see in just a bit. Now for the beard, I'm taking a black and just doing the edges of the beard And then once I add the water element, so with my water brush, I'm going to drag that dark color from the edge towards the center of the beard, which you're going to see in just a bit. Now, a thing that I've learned about stamping and coloring, this is probably, at least for me, the biggest tip. It's not like life-changing or anything, but it did help me so much to improve my stamping and coloring. And that is to do it multiple times for the same image. So if it looks fairly easy, like what I'm doing, like maybe you're thinking, wow, Jeanette, that looks really good. Like you're just like doing a fantastic job and kicking the butt out of this coloring. I've actually colored this exact stamp probably, I'm not even kidding, 100 times because I had to use it for when I worked at Craft Stash. So I've practiced coloring this exact image at least 100 times. I'm not even exaggerating. And so I know exactly where to add a little bit of shading, where to, darken the pressure on my pencil just a little bit more. And I'm sure I could do an even better job. But honestly, just practicing the same image over and over again before you commit to stamping on a card that you're going to give to somebody or in a journal layout, that makes all the difference, at least for me, because I need to practice. And as you can see, I could definitely use some more practice, but I do recommend just practicing the same image over and over again. Try different mediums, try colored pencils, try watercolor pencils, try just straight, watercolor, like a watercolor palette, or try alcohol markers. Just practice. And I definitely need to practice more because these pencils that I'm using, they were brand new. I found them in my storage stash and it's the first time I'm using them. And they're a little tricky, I'm not gonna lie. So I definitely need more practice. But here, next thing I'm doing is just adding some little stripes to the little gnome hat. And I'm just coloring the edge. So I didn't do the stripes all the way across because I know that when I bring in that watercolor brush, I just pull the color all the way across. And as I get closer to the right, it just gets a little bit lighter, kind of. It didn't really work the way that I wanted, but it wasn't terrible either. This little gnome stamp set is adorable and it's from Craft Stash, but it's a few years old. I'm not sure if they continued with this stamp set. Hopefully they did because gnomes are still very popular. And I'm going to try to find something similar. I'll look on Craft Stash and see if they still have this set or some kind of variation of this set. I'm sure they do somewhere, somehow. I shall find you a gnome stamp set and link that for you below. The cool thing about this stamp set, I believe it came with a die set as well, like a coordinating die set, so that once you're done, you can just die cut these out and have some little die cut gnomes. I, of course, lost that die set, or maybe it didn't exist. Maybe it only existed in my mind. I'm not sure. Regardless, I'm going to be fussy cutting these gnomes and I'm going to be using them for my December daily journal, my little December daily passport journal, which I will have that video. That's the last video. If you just want to go back in onto my channel, I will also have that linked for you here. I really hope that this video is helpful for any beginners out there. I know that some advanced, stamping, coloring experts are going to be like, this is terrible. And I would agree with them. But I hope that you just go for it. I just encourage you to just step out of your comfort zone, even if it looks terrible. Practice really does help. And so I encourage you, just stamp a bunch of the same stamp on a big 12 by 12 piece of white cardstock and just color them with crayons if that's all you have, or just anything, markers. Just give it a try, and as you keep doing it, it might be tedious, but it will help you. And I personally, I love watercoloring. That's probably my favorite coloring medium because if you mess up, it's really easy to just, like here, I put too much water. Just a lot of water came out of my brush, and it kind of blended the colors terribly. The black started going into the little gnome's face, but all you do is just blot that with a paper towel or a cloth of some kind, and that'll help. And the cool thing about watercolor pencils is that you can also just take the brush, your water brush, to the pencil tip and kind of pick up color that way as well. For the last gnome, I'm using Crayola colored pencils, so the kind that you can find at your grocery store. And I'm sectioning off half of the gnome's hat and darkening that color just a little bit, so being really heavy-handed there. And then as I get to the left side of his hat, just kind of easing off on the pressure that I'm applying on my colored pencil and making it a little bit lighter. And also, this video cuts off very shortly. I ran out of space on my phone, so it's going to end very quickly, and I do apologize for that. But I will be adding a picture of the finished, like the fussy cut gnomes once they were all done, so you can see. Thank you so much for watering. Thank you so much for watering this video. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope that at the very least, maybe you didn't learn a thing, but I hope at the very least that this encourages you to try some stamping and coloring.